Section 7, new business. Commissioner Cunningham will update us on the ICOC, and the action will be to vote to approve the ICOC plan. We have our plan with us. This is the backup for this discussion. Commissioner Cunningham.
Yes, the commission is, the committee has met twice since the last meeting, and we met with Lee Wilcox, who went over the role of the neighborhood commission and some of the responsibilities, and these were incorporated into this plan. So this plan, as I see it, will probably be updated as the committee functions due to changing maybe dates and things like that, and some of the things that may occur that will impact it. But essentially, I think we've captured the essence of how we can move ahead on this. Also, there's one input missing here. There was a flow chart to be provided by Mr. Wilcox. So we haven't seen that, so that might be an update, which would be primarily probably just a tweak. Or I don't see that as a major showstopper, so, but that should be incorporated. Also, we've been running kind of short because of the size of the committee. We're having a hard time getting to quorums. I spoke with Commissioner Lebowski, and he's decided to drop out because he's had some personal problems or issues. So I'd like to, a couple of people have expressed an interest in the committee, and one was Terry Martin, so join it and get something running. We'll have another meeting in January. I would rather not wait until January, because then that would be February before the committee would meet again. So I kind of like to keep us going and not lose some momentum here. So other than that, I guess we can, if that's okay, we can get Terry Martin to join there.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
That's okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
And
how do we want to handle the plan?
So first, I think folks have questions. Did you want to update, or how do you? Is there any further update?
Well, this went out as a review. I was hoping that the committee has reviewed it. I don't have that.
You got that tonight?
This is sort of the meat of the.
This is the matrix that it's going to be based on the staff memo that came out. And I didn't pick up. I left a folder on my table when I left it.
That's okay.
Anyway, in that staff memo, which came out prior to Measure B, it was the plan on how Measure B would be structured, how the funds would be allocated. And so we're using that as a template or as a guide in pulling together how the separate areas, the different areas, transportation, public safety, all the areas that were identified in that memo, and they'll be tracked against the actuals from the Measure B funds when we get that report from the auditor of the city. That data, we'll look at it, and then we'll make our findings based on how those funds were appropriated, how they were spent, and ideally what the results were. So, if streets were repaired, what percentage was fixed, or things like compared to before that, those expenses were expensed out. So this is the more or less the roadmap that we'll be using.
So folks, so looking at the materials, it's a lot to absorb. So when folks are ready to take questions, is there anything else you wanted to say before we take questions?
No, in our final, our final report, we have the plan, but we will compile a report, and then that report will be based on the actuals in there, and then there'll be narrative in there to support what we found in there, and so this will be part of that report, only completed more or less. So that's kind of what we envision.
Okay. We'll give folks a second. For members of the public, this information is on the table if you'd like it as well.
Is it possible to make a comment about this?
When we're done? Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
While we're doing it, just looking at the, in the plan, this, because it's going to be part of that report in, I guess it's in the February meeting, we have planned to provide to this commission a prototype of the report. And you'll see the report structure and how this matrix fits in there. It'll just be a prototype for review by the commission.
Okay.
And then we move on from there. So this is kind of like preliminary to that. I apologize for the photo.
For what?
I left the folder on my table, all my notes, and anyway, kind of ad-libbing here.
I have a question. What's your sense, I know we had taken a little bit of time to get the plane off the runway. What's your sense of the pace at this point?
I think it's good. Once we got Wilcox involved, and there'll be some more discussion as we get the report structure formulated. I think the plan is committee is important just to give us the framework and direction. And then the meat will be in that report draft structure, and then that'll be our template roadmap for the way ahead.
That makes sense. And then the auditor is the person the auditor will have a specific report.
I'm assuming it'll be the auditor, it'll come out of the city manager's office.
Right.
And we're not going to audit, we are oversight, so we will look at results from the auditor or the city manager, and then our findings will be based on those. So we're not an auditing kind of function.
Just to clarify, I've spent a lot of time with the resolution language recently. It's actually an independent third-party auditor, so it's not the city's auditor. It'll be somebody else.
Okay, good. Questions? It's never like this group. Is it because it's cold? Okay. Members of the public.
I have a question.
Commissioner Coleman.
So thank you for presenting here, and sorry you left your notes. But one of my questions was, how are we going to determine if the money's been used? I mean, it goes into the general fund, and then it kind of gets, lost. So what's the process? Is there a process for determining, the money and where it's actually been spent once it goes into that general fund mystery box?
That's part of our report that we will detail that is how we compile these numbers. So the city will give us the numbers. The city's going to tell us that these were the Measure B funds and how they were appropriated, okay, and allocated. I'm not sure we can go in and challenge. If they say that they put, for example, a street repair of $17,700,000, and goes, if this proposed column adds up to $40 million, and the expenditures end up to $40 million, the money is commingled. I mean, it's 40. We have to know what it might be. 39 million came out of that particular year. We have to. That's what it is. Okay.
So I guess my question was, are we going to look into previous budgets and determine how much money was allocated to that bucket before, and then make sure the increases
using that
are
as a
40?
consideration. Part of this matrix was ideally, if you see on here, it goes 15, 16, 15, 20, it goes down to 2013 to show that that record for comparison.
Okay.
So we went back, 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly 4 or 5 years. So you'll see that history.
Okay. Thank you.
Hopefully this unleashes the floodgates of questions. No. Yes, public comment. Bruce Sullivan. And there are 2 topics. Neighborhood commission vacancies and 1/4 cent kills.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
I was checking your letterhead tonight on the agenda, and I noticed you're missing 6. noticed you're missing 6 commissioners, is that correct? And there's 8 missing tonight. Is it temporary that we're missing 2? 2 more than, no, are 2 people absent, in other words, or are we actually missing 8?
Yes, we're missing 2 people. Nick Lebowski called in sick
Okay.
for this meeting, and I don't know what one is.
Last night, I guess due to the tiny home ordeal, the commissioners to be appointed were actually put off till the 19th. And so we're going to have 4 more commissioners, of which I volunteered. And so, at any rate, in the next meeting, I'd be, maybe sitting with you. So I had a question on the sales tax, and you had mentioned that you had left some kind of document with staff
No.
that you forgot.
No, at home I have my meeting notes
Okay.
for all the committee meetings that we've gone to. So I had a report, it was a more formalized structure, so I'm kind of winging it here. I don't have,
Oh, I see. I had a question in regards to the 0.25% increase. The way it was written is that the sales tax for the city originally was 1%, and the Measure B allowed for a 0.25% increase. Therefore, this commission, I believe, would oversee 1 1/4%, not the 1/4.
I think Measure B, which I was tasked, or our standing committee was tasked to follow, was 1/4%.
Increase.
As part of Measure B, right?
Increase.
And that 1/4% totaled out to approximately $40 million a year.
Increase. So you're actually talking about 200 million instead of just 40 million. Because it's an increase on the existing 1%. Therefore, you're looking at a larger number, I believe, the way it was written. And I think maybe we should take a look at that, because that's a big deal.
Yeah, certainly.
Just to clarify. And then second of all, what does this commission do? When you say you oversee it, or the Measure B says you oversee it, what is our responsibility, or what is your responsibility?
It's in the plan. Did you get a copy of the plan? It was part of the handout.
It's in the agenda.
Yeah. There seems to be a question maybe as to where the funds go and how to track them. And so is that something that would be, under this commission's authority to look at? Or would we have to go by your hand out there?
The plan kind of defines what Measure B says, okay? And then what our role is going to be along those lines, okay? There's some specific items in Measure B, public safety and gang prevention, things like that, okay? The matrix that was also passed out just kind of follows that, and it was detailed in a staff memo that came out from the city manager back before the measure was passed as to how those funds were going to be allocated. That proposed, that plan then totaled $40 million. There's a $40 million itemization in here for those items that were in that memo based on that Measure B 1/4%. We will get the results from the city, the manager and the auditor, on, I would right now think how $40 million were spent against what the Measure B wording was. That's what we know now.
Okay. I just felt it was a valid question to bring up to you
Oh,
guys.
no, it is, but the thing is, the auditor will give us the hard data as far as dollars and where they went. What we will do is evaluate whether, yes, indeed, they went to those specific items or didn't go to those specific items, and that will be a finding, for example, okay?
I guess it was Inside San Jose had reported that the employees of the
I'm
city of
sorry,
San Jose.
excuse me. If we can move on to public comment, please. Will you be here next time?
Yeah, I'll be
Okay.
here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have additional comment. Ed Rast, please.
Ed Ross, speaking for myself. One of the questions I have to the neighborhood commission is, how many of you actually have been on an independent monitoring committee? My guess is nobody. The city has not basically provided training at this point in time to any of you on this. Also, the next question is, how many of you actually understand financial reports? Very few, I would guess. Okay, a couple people do. What happens is you need to get somebody from the outside to balance out the city's viewpoint on these things. Because otherwise, you're going to be taking the word of the city all the time, and their viewpoint. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you understand what they're saying. If you don't, then you don't fulfill your obligation to the voters to be actually an independent monitoring committee. You're a captive monitoring committee, it comes down to it. So you need to take a look at that. And also take a look at the idea, is the city, when they're budgeting, are they basically taking money out of the existing budgets for public safety, transportation, and everything else, and substituting the other end? So the measure, so it looks like they're actually spending the money in that area. That's a trick that basically people pull all the time on the independent monitoring committees. I've been on them before, and I've seen them.
That's a consideration that we've taken that into consideration, and that's a concern.
So it's up to you. You're basically appointed to it. I would hope you do a good job. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Additional questions or additional public comment? Any other comments from? All right, next section. The action item is to vote to approve the ICOC plan.
So moved.
Commissioner Colstead?
Second.
Commissioner Martin, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any no? Unanimously approved by all commissioners present.